All right, 2015 is in the books, and we are now kicking off 2016 with our first episode, number 36. This is the Thunder Underground podcast. My name is Trent, and as always, I'm joined by Jason. How is it going?
It's going good. I'm glad to be here for number 36.
Yes, so did you have a good New Year transition into this back to work and all that crap?
I think so. All the barley and hops have just stayed with me and pushed me right into that first day of work and, gave me the energy I needed, and that was just hanging over from New Year's. So
Right.
It goes a long way. It goes a long way.
Yeah, we had a little New Year's shindig at my house. So
That's right.
That was nice.
Of course. And, again, we're here for episode 36, and we are hoping to get 36 more, and then maybe 36 after that, and so on and so on.
Of course, and 2015 was a good year for us. We've been doing the Thunder Underground thing for a while, but finally decided to jump into the podcast game part of it in May, and kicked off episode 1, I think it was late May, and have been going pretty much every week since then.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good momentum, and it's funny because we kind of talked about it, and then one day you were just like, hey, I got the stuff, let's do it. So we just, like you said, we just jumped in.
Yeah, kind of learning it as we go, but it's gotten, it gets a little better every time, I believe. So.
That's right.
Yeah, and we had some of our highlights in case you're listening to us for the first time. We had a few of our podcasts get picked up for national news stories with Kirk Winstein from Crowbar, story about that their album was halfway completed, or that half the songs are recorded, and then we got a story picked up from the Joey Allen from Warrant one that they're looking into using Michael Wagner, the very famed producer who worked with him on Dog Eat Dog. And then we had Sid Falk on a 2-part episode because it was quite lengthy, and that story just got picked up recently. And it was a story about some comments that he had made about Paul Di'Anno that he was in Battle Zone with back in the 80s. And that's a pretty interesting interview if you're a fan of, Paul Di'Anno and Iron Maiden, or a fan of Sid Falk and Overkill, especially. Go check that out because he has a lot of stuff to say, and he's not afraid to say what's on his mind or speak his mind, basically.
And that's always good. And yeah, he definitely went into a lot of stuff. And you can't be a fan of thrash and not want to hear this episode. So definitely check that one out.
Yes, and we had tons of other episodes that we were proud of. I love the Scattered Hamlet episode that we did.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was super fun.
Yeah, we had all 5 members of the band on there. And recently we had a great one with the bassist from Miss May I, Ryan Neff, and then we've had, tons of other good ones. A couple of the guys from Soil, and we had several regional people, that were pretty good ones. King Shifter, Smoke Offering, Driver, Rocket Science. The list goes on there.
Oh yeah, all those guys.
Yeah, a really cool one with Spirit Caravan, Wino. He gets into a lot of his stuff back with the Obsessed, which is really cool to hear about.
Yeah, that was a complete honor.
Yep. And, there's tons more. Go back and check all that stuff out. We're on thethunderunderground.com. Everything's on there. We're on, obviously all this is on SoundCloud /Thunder-Underground. Anything else you want to talk about 2015 before we move along?
We had a great year. We kicked off and just, like we said earlier, just jumped into it full throttle. And we thank everybody for listening and all the different sites for picking it up. And just please continue to share and like and spread the word.
Yes, definitely. And the other thing I did want to mention is, besides all the national ones we mentioned, we have done a lot of guys local, and it's gave us an opportunity to kind of get back into the whole, scene of local music.
Yes.
That, back when you were playing out, when we were a lot more active of going out all the time. Now it's just kind of, here and there, as you get older, that's the way things go. But, starting back with this, we've seen a lot of bands, and we've, talked to a lot of more guys, and we've got to know some of these guys, so it's, kind of cool to get back immersed into that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, when we were teenagers, there's a couple of these guys, like, Steve Ray of Pitbulls on Crack and Dave Cantrell, and Stacy Lane that we saw, when we were kids. So it was really cool to talk to them. And then, when I was playing out, there was those guys and some other bands and
Driver.
Driver.
The guys from Driver.
Yeah, definitely. They were in Rhythmic Disturbance, and Mike DiPetrillo was in a ton of stuff. And then, it just kind of, life happens and you go one way and you start doing something else. And so when we started this back up, it was really cool to kind of delve back into the local music scene and see who's still around and see what names you remember, and meet some new people. And we've found some really great hard rock and metal in Tulsa.
Yeah, and as well as playing, another thing we like to do is play songs, from unsigned bands, and we've played a lot of bands from Oklahoma. We've also played a lot from all over the country, and, just discovering a lot of these bands through doing this. People will send us music, which if you have a band, do that at thethunderunderground@gmail.com.
Definitely.
And it's cool to be able to get, exposed to some stuff, you might never come across.
That's right. And there's some great stuff out there. If what we've been hearing and playing is any indication, the metal, the rock lineage will continue for eras to come.
Yes. Well, looking into 2016, we've got some shows coming up that we're going to hit. We'll talk about that in a bit. And, obviously, we're bringing you a podcast every week. So, I think, we had a great 2015. And like I said, if you're new to us, this is your first episode, go back and hit some of these old episodes. Kick this episode off with a song from a band out of California called Ironaut. They're actually from Los Angeles. Let's just get right into this song for you. It's called Horned Goat.
Cultivate your immortality, writing hymns in silly hearts. You built a kingdom by wars and victories, written in stone by the way of black arts. But you lost your focus, and you killed the dream. But you're still rolling through pain and misery. Spare me from your pity, drag me to fight, 'cause I'll win. Give in, I wrote the law, and I can't die. Take me to your city, let me the light. Fight fire with fire, we move forward, and you must die, 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 die. The passing of the torch is gonna leave you black and blue. My armies are unstoppable, you know this to be true. I've worked for years to build my throne with smoking blood and steel. Better off below my feet, so bow your head and kneel. Solo. We till the soil so new blood can shine. Time to end the tyranny. For this stopping, we need to go. Ride the devil's highway and give us your soul. 'Cause they lost their focus when they killed the dream. But we're still rolling through pain and agony.
Right, that was Horn Goat from Ironaut out of Los Angeles. That's quite a killer tune. Just no other way to really say it. It's, it's a great, it's got that great stonery kind of feel, but also just your where it's somewhere between stoner metal and just heavy metal. You can't. It's not really pigeonholed into either genre. The vocals really kind of cross the line into both as well, and I love the verses in that. It's real stompy.
Yeah,
like the way he's singing it and everything. It's just like you can imagine that song being like a big song during a live set. It just got that feel where it's just like, pumping your fist and drinking beer and listening to metal.
Which is some of my favorite things to do.
Right?
Yeah, this is a great song. I love the kind of got a distorted bass tone going on. Just riffy as hell. Just a great song. I mean, there's some stuff on YouTube of these guys. Just check them out. It's pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, they've got a full album up, and I believe almost all the songs are on Reverb Nation now that you can listen to. Definitely check that out. They're on Facebook. Give them a follow. They've got, like you said, stuff on YouTube, and I know that they're selling the music and they're selling T-shirts and stuff. I really feel this is a band that you're going to hear about in the future.
Oh yeah, we've got to. I mean, there's no way these guys can't get noticed.
Yeah, and one thing about this band that is going to transition us into what we're talking about next is this is the type of band that you could see touring with different, several different types of, genres of metal, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's really a type of band that I could definitely see playing with Motorhead.
That's right.
It's got that same kind of spirit and attitude, and we were going to bring that up because our last episode that we did, the best of 2015, we were actually recording it the night that Lemmy died, and that's when we found out while we were recording. So we didn't really have time to, think about it. Think about it and talk about it. We just went on with the episode and figured, well, we can do a fitting, talk about Lemmy here on this episode.
Definitely. We mentioned it, but like you said, we didn't have the time and we weren't prepared to really go into some tributes, some stories, but now we're ready.
Yeah. So, I mean, just starting it off, I mean, I don't know, most bands I can really pinpoint what the first thing I heard from them was, but that, I don't know, with Motorhead, I really can't remember. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just, when you think of Motorhead, it's like they've been around our whole life, like literally. I think
exactly.
I think their first album came out in 1977 when I was born. And so growing up and when we really started getting into rock and metal in the late 80s, they're just one of the bands you just knew about because they were already a legendary band because they'd been around for 10, 12 years by that point.
Yeah.
And, everybody knew Ace of Spades or Overkill because those were the songs you would hear if you were out and about at a concert or something like that. But I don't know, with me, I think it was more probably around the early 90s whenever, God, I'm drawing a blank on the album. The one with Hellraiser and I Ain't No Nice Guy.
I wouldn't even begin to. There's so many of them. There's so many of them, and there's, it's hard to keep all that stuff together after, 20, 30 some odd years.
But yeah, around that point, it's kind of when I started, listening to them more, and, you would see him pop up and, playing with other bands that we loved, Metallica, whoever, Ugly Kid Joe.
Ozzy.
So, he was like a figurehead of an icon of the genre. So it really started to sink in at that young age, when you're really, finding what you like and discovering the old stuff as well.
That's right.
And, of course, whenever Airheads came out.
Oh, yeah, we were all over that, weren't we?
Yeah, and they had that awesome, now legendary joke, and and then, of course, the soundtrack. I was a huge Ugly Kid Joe fan from the moment they came out, and still to this day. And, Motorhead was on there with Whitfield Crane and Ice-T singing on the song Born to Raise Hell with them.
That's right.
And that still stands as one of my favorite Motorhead songs.
Yeah, that's a great song, and even the original without Ice-T and Whit Crane
Right.
is amazing.
Yeah. And that kind of pushed me into it, more, checking them out. And whenever No More Tears came out, I loved the song Hellraiser. And then I heard the Motorhead version and I liked it too. But back then I was so immersed in Ozzy and Zakk Wylde, as being one of my favorite things that I would have told someone that I liked their version better.
Yeah.
But now as, we get 20 some years away from that, I listen to them and I would probably say I like the Motorhead version better because, the theme and the sound, their version's just dirtier and it lends more to what the whole thing is, the Hellraiser thing.
Exactly.
I don't know. We're just kind of rambling here about, but
that's good. That's good.
So what about you? What is the earliest stuff you can think of?
I think
from your experience,
for me, it was like you said, as kids and coming up, just getting into hard rock and metal in the late 80s for us might not have, I think Ace of Spades had to be probably the first Motorhead song I heard, obviously, for, all kinds of reasons. But it's like you said, we always, even though we weren't really too sure all the other stuff and whatnot, we all kind of knew who they were or who Lemmy was. Because you'd always see him in the magazines and all that, and I think, it was on probably a mixtape a buddy at school made for me. I'm pretty sure that's my first real taste of, Motorhead was. And then, just like you said, the Airhead soundtrack was big, for, really kind of something that, that was the first thing that we could latch on to that, spoke to us, because it's like, every generation, it's like, older guys love Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, but some guys got turned on to Metallica, Justice for All and the Black Album. So every, bands have their eras and whatnot.
right?
And, I just, when I get into it and as the years wore on and I just got deeper and deeper into Motorhead, there's a lot going on under all the usual songs. You've got like, Stay Clean and, stuff like that, I Don't Need Religion. I mean, that's just great stuff. And then I also I really think that a lot of their stuff in the 90s and their recent stuff was a lot better than people. I don't know. I think a lot of this newer stuff needed more credit. Because, the album Hammered was amazing. Walk a Crooked Mile. I mean, fuck, dude. Yeah. I loved that. I played that album over and over and over. And Overnight Sensation, which I think came out in like 96. I loved that album. I love that song. The song Overnight Sensation is, that stands up for any of them to me. Get Back in Line, which was just, a couple albums ago. Yeah. I mean, they really, it's kind of sad. I mean, I think that stuff deserves just as much, credit as, Ace of Spades and Iron Fist and Overkill. I Ain't No Nice Guy After All, I think. I mean, that's just brilliant. So, I mean, it's not just stuff in the 70s and 80s. Their whole body of work. Lemmy was just songs peeled off this guy. And he's just going to be very missed. And also, I just liked the kind of guy he was. He was just a straight shooter. He told it like it was, and he didn't take any shit. That's just, I love people like that, like, Henry Rollins and Dennis Leary and, guys that are just no nonsense, no frills. Maybe it's because, I don't have the balls to be that sometimes, so you look up to these guys or whatever. But that's just what I loved about Lemmy. And, play his stuff forever. He lives through the music, and, if you think about it that way, he's still with us.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about the newer stuff, I completely agree. Like,
yeah,
if
definitely.
someone said, hey, what are you, name 10 or 20 of your favorite Motorhead songs, probably 15 of them are going to be from the last 20 years.
Oh, no shit.
And I don't know if that's probably more because that's the stuff that I maybe listen to a little heavier. Because like you said, when you get into something and you kind of go with what's new and what comes out. But like, remember that song Christine from just like a few albums ago?
I don't know.
That I can't remember. It was on
I think I do, but
Motorizer,
man.
I think. And
I think I do remember that song.
it was just so non-Motorhead. It's so catchy and,
Yeah.
and you know, almost poppy. Had a poppy essence to it, you know, not really, but you know what I'm saying, just that kind of, like you could strip it down and make it some, you know, idiot pop star could make it a big hit.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? You know, and I wrote down a couple other ones like the newer stuff like Rock Out and Bye Bye Bitch Bye Bye.
Yep.
God Was Never on Your Side. And, you know, and of course, going way back, I think my favorite classic one is probably Killed by Death.
Yep, that's another great one.
And of course, being a big wrestling geek that I am,
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
you can't not put the Game, you know, up there on that list. You know,
There you go.
because that's just, you know, even, you know, Triple H sure is one of my favorite wrestlers, and that's not really just saying that because he's one of my favorite wrestlers. It's just a great
It's a badass
fucking song, you know.
I know.
And he's done two other songs for Triple H as well, Line in the Sand and King of Kings.
Yeah.
And, you know, all three of them are great. And going into seeing them live, one of the times that I saw Motorhead live was kind of a rarity because I saw him at WrestleMania 21 in Houston.
Yeah. Was that the one where Triple H came up from out of the ground?
No,
Because I saw that on YouTube the other day. I watched that.
were they playing live when he did it?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he came out of ground or not.
Yeah, like right by Lemmy.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I just remember they had a, you know, when we got there and before the show started, there was a, you know, drum kit and amps set up on the stage.
Yeah.
You couldn't see like a emblem or anything on the bass head, so everybody was like, what is this? And I was just assuming it was going to be Limp Bizkit or something because they were like the theme song that year for WrestleMania. And then nothing happened at the beginning, and then when Triple H came out, you know, all of a sudden the lights come up and it hit. There was no announcement that they were going to be playing it, you know.
And look who he got.
So I got to see Motorhead play the Game live.
That's awesome.
In the now defunct, whatever the hell that place was, the Astrodome. And what else? Okay, of course, one of the bigger ones was I saw Motorhead live at Ozfest.
Yeah, oh, yes. This is a story. This is a story.
Yeah, this was back, you know, in the earlier days of these kinds of festivals. They would have, well, I mean, a lot of major festivals in Europe might still do this because they have so many bands. But they would have the main stage and the side stage staggering, but they would overlap each other. Where a lot of these festivals, at least in America now, you know, will have them staggered where one will start and one will stop, you know, so on.
Yeah.
But at Ozfest in those first few years, you kind of had to make a choice sometimes on who you were going to see. And so if you were wanting to see someone that was headlining a second stage, you're going to miss someone near the top of the bill on the main stage. Well, lucky for me, the band that that was playing at the same time as Motorhead on the main stage was Tool. And, you know, a lot of people might be like, ooh, that's a tough choice, and it really wasn't at all.
No.
You know, but everybody else that I went with, including present company,
Yep.
chose to go see Tool instead of Motorhead. So I went and saw Motorhead, and then I met Lemmy after it.
That's right. I forgot about that. You met him.
Yeah, he was, you know, totally cool, you know, just standing over there by the fence, you know, just shaking people's hands and taking pictures. And I asked him for a picture. He said, sure. And the guy that I handed my camera to took the picture, and I got it back later, and the guy had his finger like halfway over the,
Oh, man.
you know, over the lens. So all you see is our legs.
That's bullshit.
I need to pull that out and scan that and say, here's my picture.
That's right. That's right.
Mine and Lemmy's legs. You know?
Yep. That's right. You know, I have to completely, totally admit that was a bad judgment call on my part. But, you know, I was young, and I really thought, you know, that was back when, you know, Tool mattered to me somewhat, and I just thought that I needed to see that. I have no I don't know. I kick myself every day on that deal. I really do. I really do.
So I saw him those 2 times, and
Yeah.
I guess the next time I saw him was it the first time you saw him opening for Foo Fighters?
Yeah, opening for the Foo Fighters, and they were pretty good. I just wish they'd played longer,
Right.
but it was cool that they were in Tulsa, cool that they were opening for the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
And then we saw him at Riot Fest.
Well, the other mention about that is he came out and played Shake Your Blood with him.
That's right. I totally forgot about that. Yep.
Or he came out during Foo Fighters set, and they
Yeah.
played the Probot song
Yep.
that Lemmy sang.
That's awesome.
And then, like you said, Riot Fest this year,
Yeah.
which was just now, over 4 months ago now?
Yeah.
Almost 4 months ago.
Yep. So we were lucky to see one of his last shows.
Yeah.
And, I before we move on, or, before I forget, just back on, some of the lesser known songs, Brave New World, that was a kick-ass song. I mean, if Jesus showed up now, you'd be in jail by next week. I mean, that's so true. It's sad, but it's true. And, Lemmy knew that kind of stuff. He had that stuff in his head. Rock and roll music, I think, it's either just rock and roll or rock and roll music. Brilliant song. It kind of goes back to the whole, 1-4-5 type kind of old school rock and roll. I mean, we could go on.
Well, that's the thing to mention is that, if you've ever paid attention to Lemmy's interviews or anything, he was always adamant about the fact that they weren't a metal band.
That's right. That's
that
right.
They were a rock and roll band. And I think most of those songs, going extremely new with the Bad Magic album,
Yeah.
that song Electricity, is great, and it just has that same kind of, like you just mentioned, that old rock and roll feel to it,
Yeah.
just with heavy distorted guitars and his voice.
Exactly.
And it's the same kind of thing. You could strip that down and, hear someone from the 60s singing it.
Oh, I know. And if here's a, it might be kind of a little known nugget for you. If you like that kind of, stripped down old school rock and roll sound, he had a band with the drummer for the Stray Cats called Headcat.
Right.
And they did that just real kind of throwback 50s and 60s rock and roll, good time songs. Just look it up. It's a great record. That's another classic Lemmy moment.
Yeah. I think they have 2 or 3 records overall, maybe. I might be wrong, but yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier, I Ain't No Nice Guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a great, because you never think of slow songs when you think of Motorhead, and that was just cool to hear him sing that, and Ozzy's on that one as well.
Yep.
I'd say if you've never heard that, go look for that. And while you're looking for stuff, if you're looking for it this week, the other thing that's going on is that whole, someone started a Facebook campaign to, hey, go download Ace of Spades and let's try to get this to number 1 on the charts.
Yeah.
Which is probably pretty hard, but it's already in the top 10. So
Yeah, it's gonna hit top 10 for sure.
So, I mean, that's kind of a cool thing. And I noticed on Twitter yesterday that Phil Campbell was really pushing it as well. He was retweeting people and, tweeting like big name rock people and say, hey, share this. And, and he even pointed out, he's like, I don't get any royalties off of this song, so I'm not doing this for my own benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, it just got to want to get the name out and get known, and it's
just because it's
it's
cool,
good for, exactly.
A fitting tribute, because that kind of stuff, people, it's always been a thing when someone dies, people will go and buy their old stuff.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know where you were before, but.
Exactly.
But it never is to a point to where it pushes stuff back into, like, the charts.
I know.
So,
Well, and I never understood that. It's like when Kurt Cobain died, you went out and got all the Nirvana shit. I mean, I don't know. I just, that confused me about you, Trent.
right. I already had it all.
Oh, okay. Just kidding. It's my usual ball-busting Trent segment. Sorry.
Right.
I had to fit it in there somewhere.
Well, yeah, I guess my only other thing to say is, like you were saying, he was just like saying what's on his mind, anything, but he was also just like 100% rock and roll, heavy metal.
Yeah.
Like when you think of heavy metal, that guy lived the life, and it wasn't for show. It wasn't like, hey, look at me in the press. It was just like,
That's who he was.
yeah, he drank whiskey, snorted coke, fucked women, and played metal. You know, he just did it because that's what he wanted to do, and he never stopped doing it. And he was 7 years old. Did it for 50 years, basically.
Yep. Get out of the way. You know, that was his,
Right.
pretty much his mantra.
And the cool thing was he was a good dude, too, you know? He
Yes.
Never, you know, he was at the Rainbow all the time. I know several people that met him there, and, you know, the thing was you just wait till him, you know, for him to finish playing his game, and then he would turn around and take a picture, shake a hand, whatever.
That's right.
You know, which is pretty admirable for someone who's been dealing with that kind of thing for 35 years, basically. You know?
Yep. Just got to let him finish his game.
Yeah. And it was also, you know, a final note was cool that they had that birthday party with a lot of his friends and people were there, you know, just, you know, within a week before he died. So that's a kind of a cool fitting end, you know, so.
Yeah, and they're going to have this weekend, they're having the whole Sunset Strip is going to be Lemmy's memorial. They're
Right.
going to webcast it and all kinds of stuff, so we'll have to check that out.
Oh, it's being webcast?
Yeah, I just saw a headline today. I don't know where yet.
Last week, we went to the Brady Theater and caught Black Label Society,
That's right.
and Huntress was opening for him.
Definitely.
And this was pretty killer in the sense that, obviously, Zakk Wylde, you always want to see that dude play live.
Yeah. If Zakk Wylde's in your town, you need to fucking
Right.
go.
But it was also really cool for us because, you know, we love the band Huntress.
Yes.
And we had yet to be able to see them live. And, you know, I kind of, you know, I've listened to them, but I kind of more, you know, really got into them with this newer album.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you've kind of been ahead of that, you know,
Yeah.
with this is their third one. And, I mean, I don't, you know, what to say. They're just an amazing live band. It's just, you know, she's got this voice that you don't think should really fit with that kind of metal, but somehow it does. And she's just like, has, you know, just complete, you know, like a professional musician that's completely control of everything, you know, and just like when she's on the stage presence, the live singing, everything is just on point.
Yep.
As you know, as well as it could be. And, you know, we kind of mentioned this on our last episode with the whole, you know, on the best of when we were talking about their album, which came in at number 5, by the way.
That's right.
Yes. And she's, you know, not only amazingly talented, she's beautiful, you know. So I wanted to reiterate, you know, why are you listening to the Butcher Babies when you should be listening to this?
That's right.
Because it's not just the fact that the Butcher Babies are hot, they're just not this badass. Anyway, I just have to throw that in every time. Sorry.
Well, you know, and that's the thing. Jill Janis she's got the range and the power and just the control. And she's got such a presence. Nothing is going to happen on that stage unless she wills it to happen. And that's how you know that, you know, that's the mark of a good front person. And and that's how you know that, you know, they're going to put on an amazing show. She had the crowd in the palm of her hand the whole time. And then, you know, you have to talk about, you know, the band itself, which is just, you know, talent for days. I mean, you know, they had the twin guitar stuff, the riffs. I mean, it's just... It's just what heavy metal. It's what you want to. It's what you want to hear. It's what you really want to get. I mean, if you're, it's an album that if somebody said, "Man, I've never heard heavy metal," I would put Static on. You know,
Nice.
I mean, and that would be definition. You know, number one, and they should really be proud of that. And I love Zakk Wylde. I love Black Label Society. But for me, Huntress stole the show. They were what I was really there for. And I was so glad that... And, you know, you never know. I mean, you can like an album. You can like a band. Especially newer bands. And you never know what you're going to get live. You know, and we went and we got way more than we expected. I did. I mean, it was a stellar show from the first note to the last. I mean, I just can't say enough about this band and how awesome they were. You know, they played a lot of new stuff. They played Spell Eater. They played Zenith. They played I Want to Fuck You to Death, which was co-written by Lemmy. So they got old stuff in there too. I mean, it's just, they covered all the bases, and I think they won over a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree as well. That stole the show for me. You know, it's not any knock on Black Label Society. You know, we've seen them several times, and we'll continue to see them several times.
Oh, definitely.
But that's the thing. We've seen them several times, so we knew what we were going to get with Huntress. You know, we were really looking forward to it like you are when you see a band for the first time.
That's right.
And the cool thing is to point out as well is they're really active on their social media, and, you know, she's always posting even there that, you know, we love to meet people, so come find us after the show.
Yeah.
And they're always at the merch table meeting people. And we went back there, and there was a huge crowd of people over there. And they, like you said, I think they went over some people. I know, you know, we know a couple people personally that mentioned that that's the first time they had heard them, and they loved it.
Yes.
You know, and so I think this, even though it was a short run, it was like 4 or 5 dates with Black Label. I think this is a big step for them. Because they were out there in front of a lot of people that didn't know who they were.
Definitely. And if the show we went to was any indication, I mean, you know, very successful. Short run, but very successful. I mean, they shook every hand. They took every picture. I can't imagine, you know, when Jill Janis came out there, the mob around her, I mean, that would drive me nuts. I would tell everyone to fuck off and leave me alone, you know, because I just get so stressed out and so nervous. She handled it like a champ. She was so engaging with everybody, and they were just great, and that's how you need to be, especially for newer bands.
Yeah, so hopefully this helps them out, and they end up on some other big tours and continue to get higher and higher on the echelon of what people are listening to these days. So.
That's right.
And speaking of listening to these days, we've got another song for you to listen to.
That's right. Kansas City Metal.
Yes.
We're bringing it to you.
Yes, this band is, like you said, out of Kansas City, and they came onto our radar because a band we mentioned earlier, Driver, you know, that we've had on the, you know, we had Mike from Driver on the podcast, and we played them, and we've seen these guys, a bunch of big fans of them. They went up to Kansas City and played a show with these guys, so we checked them out and really dug this. So we want to bring this song to you right now. It's called Sound of Betrayal.
Yeah, watch it, and this is where it begins.
All right, once again, that was Sound of Betrayal by Into Existence out of Kansas City, Missouri.
That's right. Pretty brutal. Some good stuff going on. I really, really enjoy the vocals on this song.
Yeah, I was the same way. That kind of jumped out at me because I think at times it had a real hardcore essence. Mm-hmm. His voice did. Yeah. But it was also at times just a metal vocalist as well.
It's funny you say like a hardcore thing. I see it, there's some times where he was like so into it and so pissed off. It was like he got ahead of it a little bit, but it wasn't. It fit. It made the song more more pissed off and more attitude. It was just it was awesome.
Yeah, and it has a really killer guitar solo in there too.
Yes.
And I also like that it has this kind of big, feel of like those metal songs from the 80s where they're just big and kind of grandiose, but it's all that condensed into 3.5 minutes.
That's right.
Which I know you've mentioned several times you're a big fan of. Get in there, do it, and get out.
Exactly.
Check these guys out. They've got 3 tracks, this one and 2 other, up on SoundCloud. They're all demos, as at least they note them on there as demos.
But they sound good. They sound good to me.
Yeah, they're good sounding stuff, and
they're ready to go.
Yeah, and they mentioned to us that they have an EP that they're working on that they're shooting to have out by May. So be on the lookout for that. Check them out. Like them on Facebook so you don't miss any of this. Once again, Into Existence out of Kansas City.
That's right.
All right. Well, recently there's been tons of news about reunions or regroupings, so to speak.
People leaving, people coming back. It's all over the place.
Yeah, and of course, Guns N' Roses is all over the place, and there was the the little bit about David Lee Roth and his original band and all that. But another one that kind of slid into the mix here recently was Skid Row.
That's right.
And we're both, longtime Skid Row fans since we were kids. And I think, we were kind of talking about this earlier. I think it's kind of funny that so many people are already kind of bashing them. I've seen like in comments where people are bashing them like, oh no, here they go again. Yeah. When in reality, when you sit back and look at it over the span of, what's it been, 28 years, they had 2 singers basically.
Exactly. And Johnny Solinger was in the band longer than Sebastian Bach was, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in like 98 or 99. Mm-hmm. So he was there for like 16, 17 years. And when he left, they got Tony Harnell, and yeah, that was a short run. That's what, recently just happened like a week or 2 ago. Yeah. And, sure, now it starts to look, they're on their 4th singer. When you say it that way, it does sound a little bit like, oh no, here they go again. But in reality, it's just, this is really the first time that this has kind of happened since Solinger was such a long-standing member. And to talk about that for a minute, a lot of people were always kind of 50-50 on him as well. And we saw him tons of times live, and he always pulled off all the Sebastian Bach stuff. Sounded great. He might not have as wide a range as Bach, but he pulled it all off well, and he has a great voice that that fits Skid Row well because he could hit the high stuff, and he also had that dirty, gritty kind of metal vibe.
That's right.
That Bach kind of honed in on with Slave to the Grind and everything after that. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Well, yeah, Solinger, he had the power and he had the chops to, his voice wasn't like Sebastian Bach's, but, you got to think over the years, he probably put up with so much crap, but, you're right. It's really, almost 30 years and they've only had 3 singers, and this one last guy was like, not even a year. So it's not really here we go again type kind of deal. It's just, it's just what's happening. And there's definitely bands that have been through way more erratic and silly lineup changes.
Right.
So I mean, this is not that. But what is a little silly is, we've heard the rumors about, they're going to get back with Sebastian Bach so they can open up for the new reunited Guns N' Roses. There's been a rumor about the guy that used to be in Dragon Force might be their singer. So
which sounds completely odd when you think about that.
Oh, it does. It sounds totally odd. But, it's the internet, and people are going to speculate, and rumors are going to start. And that's the part that I kind of feel bad for Skid Row, that they get caught up in that, that silliness, I guess, to use that word again. So it's, who knows what's going to happen. Do you know of, just off the top of your head, anyone that would fit in, or do you think they're going to go and maybe try to make a run at a reunion, or, maybe Rachel Bolan just isn't going to have it,
Right.
What do you think?
I wouldn't have a clue, as far as, what they might do. They've already made a statement that they're not, they even mentioned the Guns N' Roses thing.
Yeah.
They made a statement that, no, this isn't happening. But, of course, they legally couldn't if that was really the case.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I don't think, or what I do think is that you've got to give Rachel Bolan and Sabo credit, for really sticking, to their guns and what they say they want to do, so to speak, which is,
no doubt.
Rachel Bolan obviously doesn't like Sebastian Bach, and Sebastian Bach doesn't like Rachel Bolan. I know that him and Bach and Sabo have been back on decent terms.
Yeah.
But Bolan and Bach don't like each other, and he just said, we're not going to put ourselves through something we don't need to.
That's right.
And they've been offered, huge last year for Download, I think. Huge, like $600,000 to headline Download.
Yeah, it's something insane.
And they turned it down, which to me is unbelievably admirable.
Yes.
Because they would go from playing places where they're, getting less than 1,000 people, probably 500-800 people on a given night, to be playing to several thousand people if they had Bach back in their band.
Oh, definitely.
Because both those guys, I've said this a million times, they need each other, especially for recorded music, because Bach can't write a song to save his life. And Sabo and Bolan and Scotty Hill obviously need Bach, to get to that level to where more people are paying attention.
That's right.
But I love the band, and I've followed them, the whole time, and no matter who their new singer is, short of being Vince Neil, I'll support him. Yeah.
Well, Vince Neil's free now.
Well, hell, if they do it, good for them, because, hey, that'll put butts in the seats, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It'll just be a horrible live show.
Very horrible. For sure.
But you mentioned, who do I think would fit? Whitfield Crane might be pretty badass, but,
yeah.
He's got stuff going on.
That's right.
But I can't off the top of my head think of someone who's got that, that thing I mentioned that Bach's so great at, the whole, going high, hitting all that pretty stuff, and then also going down and dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the dude from Dragon Force can do that, We don't. All we know is what he was screaming his ass off and singing high with Dragon Force.
That's right. Well, maybe that was an unfair question for me to ask you, because that would just feed into the speculation we just got done bitching about. So
Right.
I don't know. It's just, it's all discussion, it's all talk, and who knows where it's going to go. I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out.
Yeah. Like you said, we'll be there to see him live regardless, probably.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on. Last week we had our best of 2015 episode that we've mentioned a couple times already. And number 7 on our list was Motor Sister.
Yes.
And this is a super group that features Jim Wilson, along with, we'll get to who Jim Wilson is in a minute if you don't know, along with Scott Ian and John Tempesta.
Joey Vera.
And Joey Vera. 3 guys, that are huge in metal. And they've teamed up with, or Pearl's part of it as well, but they've teamed up with Jim Wilson, who is a singer and guitarist, songwriter that had a band called Mother Superior, and Scott Ian was a big fan of it, and they decided to basically give these songs new life with this super group, and it, that's a little bit more rocking than the original versions. Not rocking, but more heavy, because you got Ian's guitar in the mix.
Definitely, yeah.
But it still has the same, classic bluesy like you always say, whiskey drenched vibe.
That's right.
And the point that we're talking about this is because this past week, the original drummer for Mother Superior, which all these songs were originated from, passed away.
Yes, Jason Mackenroth, the original drummer, passed away. I think it was prostate cancer. So, tribute to him. Thoughts to his family and friends. I don't want to, in light of everything that's going on with Lemmy and Guns N' Roses and Scott Weiland, let's not forget one of the unsung heroes. He was a powerhouse drummer. Mother Superior was grossly underrated, criminally underrated. They also did a stint with Henry Rollins as his backing band. Pretty much they were the next incarnation of the Rollins Band. They did 2 great records, Get Some Go Again and Nice, with Henry Rollins, that were outstanding. And Jason's drumming just made it all that much better. So, definitely go out and, research, dig back into, the libraries and the record stores and the whatnots and the whatevers, and look for this stuff, because it is definitely worth a listen.
Yeah, like you said, grossly underrated. Everything he did pretty much, because, like you mentioned, the Rollins Band stuff was the later stuff that didn't get a lot of attention.
That's right.
So,
and it should have.
Yes, definitely. And it's, like you said, it's just a rock and roll vibe. And the guy was a great drummer, and we had the chance to see him live with Mother Superior, and, I think I saw him once with Rollins Band. You saw him twice.
I saw him twice, yeah. It was just sweaty powerhouse, just rock and roll, just insanity. It was awesome.
Yeah, so check out that Motor Sister disc, and then go back and check out the stuff where this came from with him on the drums, from the first, I guess it's the first 2 Mother Superior albums that he was on, and then, of course, the Rollins Band stuff. Well, we wanted to mention a few upcoming shows that we're looking forward to.
That's right. There's
just to toss them out there.
Yeah, just, jumping right into it, there's in January and February, there's just going to be some great shows coming to our area.
Yeah, Trivium is playing a small club here called the Vanguard, which we're really excited about, because we've seen them several times, but it's always been in a festival setting or an opening slot where, they'd get like those 30 or 40 minute slots. So this is the first time we're getting to see them in a headline set, and pretty excited because they're, supporting the Silence in the Snow album, so they should be playing a few tracks from that, and that's a great album. So it'll be interesting to see, him singing the early stuff with, how well his voice is developed.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about the other day. Not only is it great that we get to see Trivium finally in a club setting, an intimate, environment, but it just really seems like this is going to be a good era to see them live in, with the way he's singing and how good this new album is. So just really amped for this show.
Yeah, and then after just a couple weeks after that, Anthrax is playing a club in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We're going to try to hit that.
Yeah, and for sure.
We've been there once before to see Clutch and Prong, and it was, quite an awesome place to see a show. So we're really excited about that, because Anthrax is always great live, and you put them in that venue. I'm really looking forward to that.
I think this might be like the smallest venue we've seen Anthrax in.
Yeah,
because it's even small. It's smaller than Kane's. It's going to be nuts. I can't imagine it in my head right now. Right. That's how awesome it's probably going to be, I can't even picture it.
Yeah, because Prong and Clutch both just put on these huge sounding shows there, and so, like you said, you can't really imagine how Anthrax is going to sound, because we're even bigger fans of them than we are the other 2 bands, and we're huge fans of them, Yeah,
hang on to your eardrums.
Right? And then, like, less than a week after that, Anthrax will be in Oklahoma City supporting Lamb of God.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it just keeps going.
Yeah. And this is also a good tour and era to see Lamb of God, because there's that new album, with featuring where Randy's singing more, and there's some different stuff going on, and it's just it'll be interesting to see them live and some of these songs live. Hopefully they'll play them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is, they're harnessing lightning right now, and it's just going to be an intense show. So really lucky to get to see them in this era. Kind of like Trivium, this is like you said, this is a good era, good period to see them in. And with Anthrax on the bill, it's just ups the insanity level even more. So there's no doubt we're going to be at that show.
Yeah, it's really cool, to have two bands that are well known for putting on great live shows, and also two bands that come from two different eras. Because there's a whole generation of Lamb of God fans that might not know the older stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a cool thing for Anthrax, I think, as well as there's probably going to be some old Anthrax fans going to it that haven't really ever checked out Lamb of God too.
So yeah, it
works both ways.
Benefits all around.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, and I asked you this yesterday, asked you this the day before. Have you listened to Breathing Lightning yet?
I have not.
You still have not, you son of a bitch.
I know.
Look, it's the new Anthrax song. The album comes out February 26th, and we all know Evil Twin. Well, they just put up in various sites, you can stream a new song called Breathing Lightning, and it's badass, and I cannot believe, I don't know why you won't listen to me. You need to go listen to this thing. I'm gonna stay on you, Trent.
Yeah, I read one of the sites when they first posted it said it was like a hard rock, more of a hard rock vibe, kind of like In the End from Worship Music.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. You don't know if they do that stuff specifically to see if they can, catch something with that kind of thing, like a minor hit type thing, or if it's just what came out musically,
Yeah, well, they kind of worked with Safe Home. They got a tiny little hit out of that, so.
That's true.
So maybe, and this is kind of, if you like Safe Home and In the End, this is that kind of vibe.
Right. And you mentioned February 26th when Anthrax album comes out.
Yep.
That's also the day of Iron Maiden in Tulsa.
That's right. And that's another one we're going to hit.
Yes. We're really stoked about this. It's Iron Maiden doing 9 shows across North America. I guess only 7 of them are in the U.S., and one of them happens to be in Tulsa. And, I think one of the other places is Tacoma, and they're hitting both these towns that they haven't since the 80s, because there's a big arena now, so it works. And
exactly.
It's just kind of cool because when they said, "Hey, we're announcing dates next week," we had talked, maybe one of them will be Dallas or Kansas City or something.
Yeah.
And we can think about going if it's a weekend, but
and look what happened.
Yeah, it never even crossed my mind that maybe one of them would be Tulsa.
Yeah.
So that's just.
Oh, it didn't cross my mind either, and we totally lucked out.
Yes. So definitely excited about that, and the Raven Age is opening up, which is Steve Harris's son's band.
That's right. And you know what? They're flying in, and I work by the airport.
That's right.
And I'm going to be watching for that damn plane because the runway is right outside of my work.
Ed Force One.
Yes. If I see that, I'm going to crap myself.
Right. Then jumping into March, there's Nightwish is coming to the Diamond Ballroom.
That's right.
And they bring in Sonata Arctica as a supporting band, along with Delane. And I was just blown away when I saw that Sonata Arctica was on tour opening for Nightwish.
Yeah.
Because Sonata Arctica is always, just a headline band. And, maybe in America, not really. They play small clubs and don't fill them up. So, and both these bands are huge in Europe. But they come over here, and maybe that's a good idea if you have another, strong band from that genre of music. Package it with it. Maybe it'll be a bigger draw for both bands.
Oh, it's got to be. I can't imagine Nightwish and Sonata Arctica doing bad at Diamond Ballroom. Surely
right.
they're going to get a good turnout. And it's kind of, I know we've talked about this before, these bands are huge in Europe and they can go play festivals and, bigger theaters and whatnot and whatever. They come over here and they play all the tiny little clubs. We get to see them, we saw Sonata Arctica at the Marquee, which is now the Vanguard.
Right.
We saw Tyr at a tiny little place. And I mean, when do we get that?
Right.
When would people in Europe get that? So we're really lucky to kind of catch that as it comes around sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's something we've talked about, that we always bitch about these European festivals and these tour packages that Europe gets, and how it'd be amazing if that ever happened here, but it wouldn't, because the support for metal isn't that big in America. But then you get something like this, and that people in Europe would kill to be able to see Nightwish and Snout Antarctica, from 10 or 15 feet away.
Exactly.
Because they'd never get that chance.
Yep. And I just thought of this. That Tear show was Corpaclani, too.
That's right.
How awesome was that?
And wasn't it was Elstorm on it?
No, it was...
it was some other pirate band that was...
Swashbuckle.
That's right.
And the guy had a fake parrot on his shoulder. Yeah. And then he was like the roadie for the rest of the bands afterwards or something.
That's right.
But yeah, Corpaclani was awesome in this tiny little club. We eat metal and shit the chain.
Hell yeah. Well, we've also got Styx is coming, ZZ Top is coming, so, be on the lookout for the Thunder Underground Billy Gibbons podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
That's about as likely to happen as the Bruce Dickinson episode.
Right. Maybe there'll be a Tommy Shaw episode. We can talk for 30 minutes about damn Yankees. And
dude, I could go an hour on damn Yankees. Just give me an hour, Tommy. Yeah. We could just do damn Yankees.
And a little blurb about my hallucination from Sean Blaze.
Oh, yes. The Tommy Boy soundtrack. Right. Okay, this podcast has really gotten off the beaten path here.
Yeah. Well, there's more shows coming, after that. Obviously, Rocklahoma is a big one we always hit, but, we'll get into that as we get closer. That's about 3 months. I know you're probably excited that Blue October is coming to Tulsa, so maybe we'll talk about that when the time comes if you want.
And you're excited that you just found out that you're a dipshit. So that's cool.
Haven't we always known?
Oh, my God.
Right.
Are we done yet?
I think we are. We want to just once again reiterate, thank you for listening this past year. Thank you for checking this out. If this is your first time, dig back through the SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/thunder-underground. All our episodes are on there.
You're going to find something you like, for sure.
Yeah, we've covered most genres now of rock and metal, so we've done what we set out to do, and we're going to keep doing that through 2016 and beyond, right?
That's right, so look out.
Yeah, hit us up. thethunderunderground.com has tons of reviews, news, all the links for all the podcasts, all that stuff. Then we're on Twitter at THNDRUNDR Ground. We're on Facebook. Just type in Thunder Underground. You'll find us. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. Both of those are The Thunder Underground, all one word. Look us up, like us, follow us. So until next time, you got anything else you want to say to these people?
Just thanks for listening. Like and share. And be on the lookout because we're coming.